the game, but you battled back, you stayed focused, we kept fighting, and we finished. That's the bottom line. Okay? Outstanding job. Outstanding. Everybody. All three phases made plays in the second half. All three phases made plays in the second half. Hey, listen. Okay? Taysom will tell you, gradually at halftime, he was pissed off. Okay? Pissed off about the turnovers. But guess what? That's why I just said finish. Finish. We're going to keep giving you the ball. Just finish. Okay? Outstanding job. You should give a speech. Come on, T. Come on.
Hey, first of all, I know I had conversations with a lot of you guys at halftime. I was pissed. I owed you one. I appreciate all you guys in here, all right? And when you get these balls, this is a team award, right? I appreciate all of you. O-line, receivers, Derek running motions. Let's go. It's a team award. I appreciate all you guys. Bring it up. Hey, family on three. 1, 2, 3. Family.
Hell of a game today, Houdat fans, and thank you very much for that video clip provided by New Orleans Saints YouTube channel. But it was a hell of a finish. Fortunately, got a call yesterday afternoon that there was a ticket available for the game, so I went. Very, very glad I did. It was a weird game. It really was. Even for the crowd, there was times when it was rocking, times when it was real quiet. You had two teams that I mean, let's face it, have struggled most of the year, that played well for stretches and then didn't, and it was give up a big play, or we would give up a big play, but then we could kind of fight our way back into it. It was a what and what game, and then that fourth quarter was just like somebody flipped the switch, and we got a version of the team that we had the first 2 weeks. It was kind of Sports Accountant and I were driving back from New Orleans this afternoon after the game, and it was just the conversation was around, man, really weird stuff, really weird stats, unbelievable sequence right at the end of the first half. I mean, it was just strange. So we'll roll through it. I mean, you got to start player of the game, probably player of the year. Why I wanted to show that clip specifically about Taysom, because I think his game kind of the game that he played was kind of like a snapshot of the way the Saints played as a whole. Definite player of the game. And you're talking 7 carries for 138 and 3 tutties. 19.71 average. I mean, almost 20-yard average in carries is insane. I mean, he's going to throw in 8 catches for 50. He had a kickoff return for 42. It was 1 for 2 passing for 18. But as he mentioned, he was, he said it. I was pissed at halftime because of the turnovers. He threw a pick on his second pass attempt, and that sequence right before halftime, he catches a pass, fighting hard to get to the marker, pick up a first down. We're ready to go first and goal. He gets hit on the way down. There's a bunch of players around him. I'm being as out the game, I haven't had a chance to see all the watch the replay or see a bunch of the replays. So I'm not sure, but maybe somebody reached in and knocked it out, or however it kind of happened. He winds up with a fumble right there that they recover, and they pretty much march down the field to get in the field goal range. And then the oddest crap just happened over the last 14 seconds. Hopkins misses his second field goal of the day, but it doesn't count because apparently Peyton Turner was some kind of way holding. I did try to track that one down on video, saw a couple of clips that I really couldn't tell what the hell they were calling or what went on, but maybe those of y'all that watched on TV, maybe the coverage there kind of covered it and came up with something. We couldn't figure it out. And then Hopkins misses again. So it's like, okay. The sequence of events, and we're going to go over them a little better, but basically he's pissed. He feels like he's letting the team down. Talked about it at halftime. Riz even mentioned he had to talk to him and, like, look, calm down. We're going to keep giving you the ball. We're not worried about it. Just finish. And boy, did he finish. And especially in the fourth quarter, it was beyond finishing. He buried him. He just was a one-man wrecking crew. And say that figuratively. You had a lot of guys play well in that fourth quarter that some of them, frankly, hadn't played well the whole game. And you finished. So I think your two stories of the game is the awesomeness of Taysom that showed up today and the way he finished and the way that the rest of the team finished. Even guys, like I said, for three quarters weren't very good, but all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, they managed to salvage it. I think you got some very much honorable mentions. Unfortunately, they're pretty much all on offense, but Derek Carr was efficient, 21 for 27. I know of the 6 incompletions, one was a busted screen that happened right in front of us, and he slammed the ball on the turf. And I think he had another throwaway on a play where he's just, I'm not taking the sack or making a bad play. His play was solid and good all day long. He had the big run for 8 yards on his one carry, which kind of shocked us in the stands. So I'm sure the Browns were like, holy shit, he's running the ball. Alvin was solid, and the game Taysom was having, they kind of was one of those games where, I mean, Alvin was 16 for 67. He's averaging a little 4.1, almost 4.2, and 4 catches for 22, going over 5 average on his catches. And just the way the game rolled out, we had a pretty good passing attack. Taysom was playing well. We didn't have to lean on Alvin, which I think is good, because Alvin was getting leaned on a whole lot in recent weeks. So he was effective in the game. He was important in the game. 20 touches, and it's a good number for him to have. He was efficient with those touches, but we didn't really have to pound him. Going into the bye week, we're going to get and Taysom for that matter too. He did touch it a lot, but really 15 plus 2 passes, so it wasn't that bad. These are the center point of the offense today. Going into the bye week, we get them a rest, let them recoup. Hopefully we get some other guys back healthy and ready to go. And hell, let's see how the rest of the season turns out. Have to mention Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I mean, MVS, look, he is what he is. And I remember when we signed him, we talked about the fact that the guy's like 15.6, and that's going up. Average per catch. That's kind of the guy he's been his whole career and he's not a number one. I don't think he'll ever be a number one. I mean, he's pushing 30. He's had a pretty long NFL career already. But when he was with Green Bay and this guy named Aaron Rodgers was there, Rodgers could get him the ball downfield. So he may have games where he only had 2 catches, but having a massive amount of yards with a long touchdown wasn't above the norm. Then he went to Kansas City. This guy named Patrick Mahomes kind of did the same thing, and he's getting hit. I mean, that's his game. And it's that play where that unbelievable catch. Catch itself wasn't that hard, but the unbelievable play leading up to it, which was Carr was scrambling to his left, so he had to make a throw on the move, kind of back across towards the middle of the field. MVS was coming across wide open, and he just kind of slowed down and gave the target to hit me. Carr put it right on him, and then when he turned, he was so wide open when that pass hit him. When he turned, it was on, and they only had one guy with a chance to do anything about it, and that was literally right in front of us. I'm watching it in real time happen. That Juwan Johnson did a fantastic job of picking up that last guy so MVS could get in the end zone, and he did it without committing a penalty. I mean, that's kind of stuff we need to see out of this team. If this magical run, because we have a winning streak, this magical run to keep going, we're going to need stuff like that to happen, because we're still a flawed team, like a lot of NFL teams are. And so there's going to be some bad stuff happening that you just got to deal with, fight through it, keep moving, get to the point, as Rizzo was saying in that clip, get to the point where you can finish. And when you get there, you have to finish. So all in all, one more, and I'm combining 2 guys into one of the honorable mentions. Our tight ends, Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson, combined for 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. And they both had some unbelievable grabs in the course of those 6 catches. And we got to the point today where we really got been kind of saying, look, are these guys ever going to be Sam Laporta or Travis Kelce in his prime or anything like that? Probably not. But they are talented tight ends. And when we can get them involved in the offense, use them a little less about helping out on the offensive line. As far as I could tell, being in the stadium, we didn't do that a lot, allowing them to get out in the routes, getting open, because some of those plays, they were wide open, and Carr getting the ball and letting them go make a play after. The touchdown to Juwan Johnson, I mean, that was a great read and a great pass, put it right on him. He catches the ball cleanly, made sure he was down plenty of, was no screw ups there. It was just clean play all the way through. And there's really no such thing as an easy pitch and catch in the NFL, especially down in the red zone. But that looked like about as easy as pitch and catch you're ever going to see in that situation. And it just looked smooth. It looked good. Kind of stuff we want to keep seeing. For the most part, mostly happy with the offense. Had a couple series here and there with some hiccups, some issues. But even the and I got to look it up to see, but even our penalty situation, I know we had one play called back on the Juwan Johnson hold, the big play on the pass to Moreau. And I remember Penning getting caught for a hold. That was absolutely a mauling. Like, glad they didn't flag him twice on that play for holding. But hey, greater scheme of things, we only had 5 penalties on the day. That was probably the 2 most egregious, and it didn't come back to haunt us. And I feel like 5 is a low point for quite a while, and with penalties for us over the last, I don't know how many games, because it seemed like every week 8, 9, 10 in that category. And I'd have to go back and double check. So this is really going off a feeling that we may have cut our penalties in half. And if we can do that, some of this bad play or erratic play or inconsistent play we saw on both sides of the ball at times today, especially on the defensive side, and some of the mistakes that you do make that are correctable, but you're making them. But if you're not loading up on penalties on top of that, you're giving yourself a chance. So kind of happy to see that, the way that worked out. I got to talk about the defense, and this one kind of hurts a little bit because, I mean, total yards, they had 443. We had 473. And we were very balanced in our total yards because we threw for 259, ran for 214, and a large chunk of that was Taysom. But they were all in the past. 377. They only had 66 rushing. We, again, Sports Accountant and I were talking about on the way home, felt like Chubb finished 11 for 50, so just shy of 5 a touch. They kind of all of a sudden kind of abandoned him getting in the ball. And for large stretches, we're looking at 24 on the sideline right in front of us and going, thank you. Even with them being one dimensional, they lit us up in the passing game. But Chubb didn't hurt us, but we weren't exactly corralling him. In fact, the only play that I can really, we'll talk about in a second, is the big play on 4th down on the very first drive, and Demario Davis got in there and clipped him in the backfield for, I think, a 2-yard loss. So Double D had to make a play right there. Then you are talking about above a 5-yard average per carry for Chubb. And he was a concern of mine. And for whatever reason, thank you, Cleveland, but they did not keep trying to go on that route. So even as they were one-dimensional and hurting us, felt like we were able to stay in the game. And then once the 4th quarter happened, keeping them one-dimensional, we got some sacks in there, and we got some plays that kind of shut some drives down and pulled out of there without any more damage. But as well as they struggled at times, and at other times, I'm sorry, there's no other way to say it, they looked awful at times on defense. They did do some things good, especially in the second half. But I'm just proud of the fact that look, they were getting knocked down. They were, kind of at times getting their ass kicked, but they just kept popping back up. And, at certain times they absolutely made plays when we need them to. So not very good to bad, I guess, play for most of the numbers kind of show that, in the big plays we gave up. some of them that seem so easy, and it's like, but they kept getting up. They kept fighting back. So at least if I'm gonna call them out for the things they do wrong, they stayed in there. There was no quit. There was no give up. Times this year, I felt like we had some games where stuff like this started happening, and they just never fully recovered. And it was a couple of those bad routes we had that came into. Like I mentioned, that first drive, they were kind of moving the ball, and they got to that around that midfield area, a 4th and short, and handed it to Chubb, who's normally, if you're only looking for 1 or 2, that shouldn't be a problem. But that was like the first big rally point where Double D gets in there and makes a stop in the backfield, shuts it down. We get the ball back. They convert right there. You never know how stuff turns out on little plays like that. DeMario stepped up, made a play, shut it down. That interesting sequence that happened a little later on in the first half, the long touchdown pass to can't remember who burned, but it was basically Taylor. The first touchdown pass Winston threw. I know it looked like Taylor was either undercutting it or late in coverage. That's one I'd have to go back and watch the thing from the very beginning and kind of see what happened. But he was mostly open with Taylor kind of in front of him trying to reach him for the ball. So that may not even be Taylor's fault. But later on in the game, Taylor was on the struggle bus and they were picking on him and they were throwing in his direction almost exclusively. So that play happens. They hit the long, yak after that catch, after he makes a catch and he 60 plus yards, whatever, 50, whatever it was after the catch to house it. And you turn right around, you get the ball back on the next possession. That's when Taysom threw the interception. And you're like, holy shit, this is just going to all go downhill. We're in trouble now. After big play, we turn over. They got the ball back. What's going to happen now? These were the kind of things we were seeing a lot, way too much during that 7-game losing streak. But they kind of drove. We kind of stiffened up a little bit on that third down play. Brazil gets the big sack, pushes them back. There's no thought they can even go for it on 4th down. They roll out Hopkins to kick a 50, and he misses wide left. And so you kind of dodged a bullet there, kind of that, okay, let's get back to doing what we were doing and not this exchange of big play, give them a big play type thing. Hats off to Brazil for that play. That was a huge one. We really, really needed that at that moment. And a couple of the other ones that I'm thinking of was in the fourth quarter. She rolled in the fourth quarter on a 14-14 time. We did not play particularly well in the third quarter. There was really kind of some bad football by us and kind of at times by them. Just really weird. But you're rolling in the fourth quarter in a 14-14 tie. You're like, man, we're in a game here. We got to do something. And Saints score. Taysom has a touchdown. I believe I was Taysom's first touchdown run in the fourth quarter, second of the day. And you're like, man, you can't give him any points back. You got to hold him. You got to lock him down. They started moving the ball, and then bam, back-to-back sacks. And that was the 3 on our day that we had, and all 3 of them were at point in times when we really, really needed it. So you forced them to punt. Saints score again. Now we're up 2 scores, and you're like, okay, we really need a lockdown right here. And the game is basically going to be in our control if we can keep them off the scoreboard. And we come down, and they had a drive going, but we stiffen up. We get them the 4th down. And on 4th down, now I did go look this up on the stat sheet, but that was the one, a pass into the end zone, and that's the point where they had really been picking on Taylor a lot in the second half. And he was giving up some pass plays. The Taylor was covering Tillman. I thought Taylor got a piece of the ball and had a PBU. But when I looked it up on the stat sheet, he didn't have credit for one. So I'm not really sure what happened there. But I know this much. Tillman wasn't wide ass open like a lot of the receivers that he was trying to cover during that stretch. There was one point they were driving down the field, and I think went 3 or 4 times in a row right at him with a couple of catches, one big first down conversion. To talk about getting knocked down all game long, but if he leaves Tillman open again right there and Winston's able to hit him, well, we're back to a one-score game and all that momentum's gone. He makes the play. It was kind of, I don't know if you caught it on TV, it was kind of silent for a second in the dome because I think everybody was doing what I was doing, going, holy shit, I hope there's no flag down. And when we realized it wasn't, it was like big sigh of relief. Everybody get excited. The energy got jacked up right there, definitely on the defense. The offense had been feeling it for a while. Now they were really feeling it. The dome was feeling it. And it was something, talking about a feeling we hadn't seen in the dome in a while. It's like, man, this is the way we should have been playing football this whole time, regardless of the outcome of a game. And we ended up winning this one big. So it's exciting and it's fun, but it's like, there's the fight and the desire and the passion that Rizzy was talking about bringing back. There it is. You had a chance to lose this game because they were still in it with us going in that fourth quarter. And Rizzy said, you finished, and you finished big time and left no doubt about 6 minutes left to go in the game, 5 minutes left to go in the game. There was no doubt who was going to win it. It was only a matter of what the final score was going to be and what the final stats were going to look like. So mostly bad all day long, but I think 4 or 5, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple more that were in here where they just, okay, we're stopping this right now. You get a stop, you get out of it, you blunt the momentum, keep yourself in the game, keep giving yourself a chance to win it. During that 7-game losing streak, more often than not, we were doing stuff to give ourselves a chance to lose a game and not win it. So just happy to see to get all that, hopefully out of our system, so to speak, and get back to the kind of stuff that we did today. That it was an ugly win, really. It didn't look pretty. But it's a 3-score win. You needed it badly, and you did a good job doing it. Hats off to the special teams. I thought special teams were great today in all phases. Hayball was wonderful punting. Taysom had the big kick return. I think that was the only actual return we had, and he busted it for 42. Pettis did a good job catching balls, making sure they wasn't hitting the ground and rolling and putting us in worse field position, and then had the big return that I guess he stepped out of bounds. The replay they showed, it didn't really look like he did, but there may have been better angles out there they didn't put on the big screen that showed him out. I have no clue, but that was a hell of a return either way. And we did a great job of covering the few kicks. I know one in particular, I think 2 that they came out with and returned. And again, it was like just another no doubter. They weren't going anywhere. They weren't going to make a play on that and help pin them back and not give them field position, which, make them drive the ball. And they did a lot of that. They amassed a lot of yards, but you kept them off the scoreboard, and that's what really matters. Total yards doesn't decide who the winner is. Total points do. So I think another thing, talk about coaching, and this is a hard one for me to stay specifically because I would have to watch the game broadcast and replays and highlights to really know. It's a little different when you're there, but I had a feeling we may not have had our best day in X's and O's, especially on defense. I think for the most part, offense was pretty good, but every now and then it was like little head scratching sequence going on of play calling or whatever. But one thing they did do is they allowed the team to finish. They had that team still believing and buying in. Rizzy, for example, once again from that video clip, there's so much in there in that little minute. Just Taysom's pissed. Taysom's upset. And Rizzy telling me, don't worry about it. We're just going to finish strong. We're going to keep giving you ball. It's not a problem. And it's still in that kind of confidence, that swagger. It felt like was still there. Even when things were kind of going bad, there was no feeling that I sense coming from the sidelines through the coaching staff or on the field from the players where the thought process was after a bad thing happened or one of those explosive plays happened with it, they were like, oh shit, here we go again. This is the stuff that got us in trouble. I'm going to be honest with you, me included and some of the people sitting around me, we were thinking that when stuff like that happened. Good thing we weren't on the field because the guys on the field, yeah, we were talking about, recovered and did something about it. So I think overall, this team, as he talked about, we need to have fight, we need to have passion. But it was a gritty performance. They were very resilient throughout the game. It just total toughness, some toughness that we were lacking for a large part in that 7 game losing streak. So if we can roll out this with the rest of the season, no matter what the outcome is, what we're always talking about is even if we can't run the magic table or get close to it to make the playoffs, at least stuff in it happening here hopefully is fixing some of that culture problem, going to carry over to whatever it is we're going to end up having to do and looking like in 2025. So it's pretty much my breakdown of the game, and I see y'all can roll it in with some questions and some comments. And probably, like I said, if y'all were watching on TV than anybody else who went in the dome, you probably know more about some of the stuff that happened than I did. So well, if I hit the right button, we can pull it up. Yeah, take the win any way we can get it. And interesting enough, Denver beat the living hell out of Atlanta. So we made up ground in the division. Tampa Bay was off. So technically, I guess we made up a half game there. So it's Sports Accountant and I had that brief conversation when we heard the on the drive home when Denver very early looked like they grabbed control of that game and never gave it back. Damn, I wish we had the tiebreaker in Atlanta that we'd have won week 4 because this, even if the losing streak would have been, if we win there, would have been 5 after, which would have been bad. But if you could get back to this point with just that Atlanta win where you flip the tiebreaker and or give you a chance at winning the tiebreaker in the division, and you pick up a whole game because you get a win and they got a loss. It's like this could still come down to a razor thin margin as long as we don't blow a game we should win. And we're going to have to steal probably one that we may not be favored in coming down the stretch to even think about having a shot. Dude, you really, I hope you're going to casino or DraftKings or something. Yeah, because you've, most of the ones that I've seen you put out there, you've got the money line more or less, and it looks like you're covering some spreads there. So I'd see if you could parlay that, pun intended, into some profits. Oh, sorry, did not mean to click on that, but a reminder that as soon as the show's over, going to have a kick in 48-hour live promo code for a discount, 10% at the little black and gold online for some merch. Remind me to show you the shirt. I'm wearing one right now. And at the end, I'll remind everybody again, and I'll have it in the comments too. I'll go one step further. I don't want to say the R word, but if he doesn't get NFC Offensive Player of the Week, Who Dat Nation may have to visit New York City with torches and pitchforks and, just like kind of out of the old movies type things. Because, yeah, that would be an absolute travesty if I haven't seen all the games, results from all the games, but I find it hard to believe anybody is even remotely approaching what he did today. I find it hard to believe you can go throughout NFL history and find many games, if anywhere, where guys did what he did today. I mean, that's something truly next level special. Was he one of the ones when we were having all the kicker issues there? We brought so many in. I honestly cannot remember who they are, where they went, what they're doing now. And so, yeah, totally believe it. But oddly enough, apparently he's been struggling in Cleveland because my cousin, who was sitting on the end of the row seats we have, was sitting right next to a Cleveland fan who, on that sequence where he missed two right before halftime, before the first attempt, he told my cousin, he said, this guy could miss from the 1 yard line, and he shanks it. And then when they lined up again for the second attempt, he told my cousin, he goes, I feel like they just soon punt the ball whenever they're inside the red zone and let him try to kick one. So, and I didn't go look back up what's been going on with him statistic, but this guy who was sitting there was just not of high opinion of Hopkins' field goal ability. He kind of seemed to get proven out today. So I don't know if it's a fix or if Hopkins is just, as we said, we made a new verb today. He's cooing it and turning into the next coup. That I could buy. I know, listening to the post game and catching a little bit of Bobby, he talked about it, and he basically said the same thing. He said, I think he said during the game, he went to the press box where they had the replay up, and he was looking at it. And he said, "Looked like Turner just fell down." He said, "I didn't see anything," but he said something about basically only one angle. When I looked, it's probably the same angles. I was like, I couldn't see anything. They did show another angle where it looks like the guard fell down. It didn't look like anybody touched him. Like it was, I don't know what it was. It was like both players fell down, and it's like I don't even know if they ever touched each other. So it could have been somebody else, and they got the number wrong. That would make logical sense, especially on the edge, because I think if you were going to see, you're in guy that goes running in trying to block, if the guy next to him would grab the guy that's supposed to block him and pull him out the way, yeah, I could see that. But in the middle right there, that just on Turner just made no sense whatsoever. Yeah, no, that ain't happening. I hate shaving, so this makes it where I just got to trim it every now and then. So no, not going anywhere. I would never bet my beard on anything. I wouldn't even bet my beard on the sky being blue. Hey, Joshua. Yeah, Jasher, sorry. It really was. I'm like I was a little concerned about this because I kind of had an adrenaline dump on the ride home. Uh, told that to the sports accountant, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be. But like right before I came on, I was doing some stuff, just kind of perked up, so I'm getting my second win. But if I suddenly run out of energy and just kind of roll over and fall asleep, it's my old man late night thing kicking in. Yeah, yeah. I don't think they stink at all, but yeah, and it's a little disappointing that he struggled a little bit last week with the three penalties. Although I still say the third one that happened on that last drive was a bullshit call, but it is what it is. And today he played pretty clean, and he kind of he did some good things. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say like he was, but there was it was definitely that stretch for a while where he was struggling a lot, and they were on. I can't remember the drive. I'd have to go back and look it up. But there was a sequence where they threw him at him a couple times because they barely threw it McKinstry. It wasn't a whole lot going his way. But in there, on one of them, they did throw McKinstry's way, who Winston kind of threw the ball short, and it was almost like he skipped it in. But McKinstry had him blanketed. There was nowhere to go with the ball. And part of me even wants to say, because Winston played very well today, part of me even wants to say that he might have finally gotten out of that habit where in that situation in the past, he's trying to gun the ball and force it in there, and something bad happens where he just went, because it was out on the sideline, and it was just kind of short and wide. Or it could have been just he's inaccurate. But I feel like if he'd have put the ball in the receiver, McKinstry would have had a play on it. And that's really the only time I could think really of anything going on with McKinstry. It was just like he had a lockdown on there or something, and they just weren't going that way. But like 3 more in a row that they threw was coming right back at Taylor, and he gave up a couple of catches again. So, like I said, if he doesn't step up, I know he had good coverage on that that 4th down play. I thought he tipped the ball or did something, but maybe he didn't. I'm gonna have to go look at that one again. But if nothing else, it wasn't a wide like the touchdown he gave up to Elijah Moore, where he was just wide ass open and Winston dropped it on him, and then he tried to push him out of bounds and get the ball out, but it was a touchdown. If that happens right there on that pass to Tillman on that 4th down play, like you said, it's a 1-score game, and who the hell knows what happens after that. Okay, this is where I don't need to watch the replay or anything to know that in no way, shape, or form should we be throwing a deep ball like that with Taysom. That was one of the things that when he had his cup of coffee in 2020 as a starting quarterback for a stretch there, he did a lot of things that you're looking at going, hey, he could probably play quarterback. Throwing a deep ball wasn't one of them because he kind of just whatever it is, and probably has something to do with the fact he's not a full-time quarterback to develop a good deep ball that a receiver can go, get under. But he kind of struggles with that. And I mean, that was really, I don't remember who was running down there, if it was MVS or whoever. He really had no shot to do anything. I mean, I just don't like that play call at all. I love the one where the other pass he threw to Kevin Austin on the rollout, where Austin was wide open. So he was like, oh, easy pitch and catch, pick up 18. And on that, if it would have been covered, or if he wouldn't have had, the ability to make a good throw, he could have ducked it and ran for a minimum of 5, whatever he could get after that. So those type of play designs, if you're going to let him to throw, I don't have a problem with. But just kind of, standing tight in the pocket and throwing deep balls, and no. That's like Kubiak gets an F- on that call right there. And just keeping it real. I mean, there was a lot of positive in this game, but there was some negatives that if you want to be the team you think you can be, you got to work on getting rid of that too. And the positive really is in 2 weeks, we seem to have cleaned up again, like penalties coming up, or coming down rather, not coming up. Helps. The missed tackles were definitely better against Atlanta. We had a little issue with it today for a little while, but coming down the stretch when things were getting tight, we tightened up on that. And we were, even when they were gaining yards, they weren't explosive plays because we were getting somebody over there and getting their butts on the ground. So there's positive in there everywhere, but you have to be honest. The points and the outcome are important, and it was an awesome win. But more or less at times, we bungled. And really, it's a very similar situation because when you look at times they did too, they protected the ball pretty good. And I think our 2 turnovers, one of them was again an F- call by Kubiak, where you just soon should have had Taysom punt it. Probably about the same outcome as what happened. And the other one was him trying to make a play, and with 2 or 3 guys around him, and he was trying to get the sticks, get the first down, trying to get that touchdown before half. So it's kind of, but surprisingly enough, if you'd have said we were a -2 in the turnover margin today, and that Cleveland didn't have any, I'd have told you we're losing the damn game. There's no way we can win. If we're -2 and Winston's having any type of day where he's not turning the ball over, we're in big trouble. was wet and wet for a while, but not didn't matter. We got around that. I think the big thing is, and if Milton, if you want another positive, um, the line of scrimmage. I mean, when you're talking about you can run for 214 and hold them to 66, that kind of disparity in the running game kind of help you cover up. Um, you know, being -2 in turnovers and screwing around and missing 2 field goals again. I don't know what's going on, but all of a sudden we seem to have some voodoo to stop kickers from making field goals, especially in the dome. So hey, whatever works. That is true. And momentum is a real thing. The analytics guys don't like it when you say that because you can't quantify it. You can't put it in a formula and measure it, but it's a real thing. And in that fourth quarter, I mean, you put the game away because you grab momentum early and you never let them get it back. Yeah. So even I'm gonna go back to Taylor, who struggled most of the day, but that was a momentum stop right there, coming up with that on fourth down because we scored another touchdown right after that, and that was the game. That was it. It was done. You didn't even have to play out the remainder of the game. It they were in the situation we were at right about that time against like Denver and San Diego a few weeks ago to really put it in perspective. It's like stick a fork in them. This thing's they're done and it's over. I bet you are because yeah, 14-14 at the start of the fourth. It's like, I have a hard time covering that spread. Taysom came through for you big time there, huh? On those 2 runs. Yeah. Everybody does need luck. Look, and unlucky for them, lucky for us. Second game in a row. Couple missed field goals. Kind of last week could have made a difference in the game. This week could have altered how things were going in the game. There's a chance. We're down 2014 going in the fourth. What happens after that? Fortunately, we didn't have to find out. Yeah. Okay. Um, I was trying not to go there. Like I figured at some point by week or after talk about that. Um, See, and that's the thing right now about be careful how I say this because in the explosive play category, like we're sitting down, we're looking at, and at one point they're almost all in a row. Their receivers because they pulled up Kadarius Toney, who actually only got 1 touch from -7. So, but we know he can run. But he's standing there. You're looking at him, Elijah Moore, Jerry Judy, who it was Judy with the first touchdown. Yeah, that you saw what he could do. Tillman, bigger guy who's kind of closer to MVS, a big guy with some speed moving down the field. And then Njoku is just like today with Winston being on and he was running good routes. We were struggling with him. He made a couple of key catches. See, you're looking at that before the game going, man, if Winston's on and they're trying to get the ball deep, we could be in for a long day. Said he lit us up for 377 and 2 touchdowns. So it's like, but you kind of hung in there. But with Stafford, Cup, Nakua, that's a whole new level of scary explosiveness that they can drop on your head. And the thing is, with a head coach / OC, that it seems every time we play against him, he just sits there and schemes up plays where he is just springing. Anytime he wants to throw the ball, he's got one of those two wide open. In the case of the game last year, but even going back, it's like always just open guys, open guys. and you got a quarterback in Stafford, but if you giving him time to throw, and our pass rush was hit and miss today. There was some times we brought pressure. There were sometimes it felt like Winston was just like doing his income taxes back there before he threw the ball. And then later on in the game, we were all over him, and he just struggled to really, at times be able to get the ball downfield where it had been easier just a quarter or two before for him to do the same thing. So you rolling into McVay with the guys he's got. Yeah, you got to bring a little higher level of rush, and you've got to bring some tighter coverage, and you got to bring your defense communicating to deal with some of that crap that McVay's going to throw at you that he uses to spring these guys wide open and get easy pitches and catches. That's to be that's I don't know. I'm really gonna have to. I need the bye week to think about that one actually before I'd really say because um, the Rams too are kind of a I don't want to say a flawed team, but it has been kind of a struggling team at point this year, despite the fact Kyron Williams has been running the ball well. Uh, but they were hit by the injury bug because they lost kind of both their receivers for a while, and that's going to affect anybody when both those guys are out. They got him back, but I noticed that they're losing offensive linemen. In fact, they had three of them, including the guy whose name I cannot remember, the Hagenstan or something like that, or one of their better linemen. He didn't play. So, and look, New England gave him a game. It appears like I think that was a 28-22 or something like that final that the Rams won. So, I'd really kind of, I wouldn't want to make that call right now till we see more our health, their health, and kind of how they're looking when they play next week. Because I don't think they have a bye. I think they already had their bye week, so they should have a game. Yeah, that's entirely possible. But again, give Jameis credit because he played well today. I'm trying to think. His two touchdown passes probably counted for 100 yards of his passing total because Judy's was around 70, I think, and the other touchdown around 20 or 30. So the really the big two explosive plays that he got touchdowns on was a good chunk of that yardage. But still, I mean, he wasn't we didn't get the Jameis that was missing wildly and throwing balls right at defenders for the most part. I think DeMario had one right before halftime. He had a chance to pick. And I know there was one or two more that were kind of batted around that somebody might have a chance to pick, but it wasn't the drill the cornerback in the chest, give up a pick six version of Jameis. So it seemed like wide receivers for them are already getting hurt. Like I said, I don't really know what went on today. I'll probably end up catching up with that tomorrow. But the way their wide receivers have been dropping, it probably did happen. He stepped out of bounds and said it would have been a touchdown if he's wearing white shoes. Okay. Like I said, we only got the one, and it wasn't a good one. And it seemed like we saw green, but I'm, kind of it's like I don't know. But it was still a hell of a return, even because if he was out of bounds, what he was like that much, it couldn't have been a whole lot. So, Pettis seems to have been, something we need to talk about. Rizzy mentioned that Sports Count and I had this conversation on the way home. In his introductory press conference, Rizzy was like they want to make some changes and do some better things with their active game day roster. And you've seen Austin and MVS come up last week. They both kind of paid off. Pettis coming up, and it looks like not only in the return game, but he's a pretty good special teamer also as far as covering and all. And he had one big catch today that I think we on third down converted for a first, I believe. 1 for 9, I believe he finished. But I'm if that's the play I'm thinking of, it was like he caught it at 7 and made the play to get across the chains to pick up the first down. So pulling some of those guys up we've signed, and then we're on the practice squad because Kevin Austin's been there since he cleared waivers after we cut him out to training camp, and giving him a chance, and some of these guys coming up making plays. Kind of happy about that they're giving the chances, and let's see what we got. And as long as they keep doing what they're doing, it's a big help to the offense. Yeah, Billy White Shoes Johnson made that famous, I believe. Yeah, but we can also lose to bad teams. Remember 2 weeks ago, Carolina? So I don't take anything for granted about automatic wins when we play bad teams. Carolina totally cured me of that for the rest of this season. Yeah, as far as good teams, your schedule is what your schedule is, but losing to bad teams is a problem. And turn around and playing said bad teams and just get back to beating them like a drum. You should beat the teams you're supposed to beat, right? I don't have a damn clue. I do not play that game because I don't really care. The real question is about year 3 or 4, who's the best one? Because you can go up and down, and not just the quarterbacks. The NFL has had guys that were not very good their rookie year, that before their career was over, they were really good football players. And you've had guys that were rookie sensations that some of them never even saw their second contract in the NFL. So I don't overvalue or undervalue. The only time I really care about rookies are the ones that are playing for the Saints, and are they giving us enough to win games? And if they happen to be good enough to start and play well, fantastic. But I'm not in the game of comparing rookies to rookies. The NFL is just it's they some guys may look the game look easy. It is definitely not. So it's like, let me know when they start getting close to that second contract. Are you talking about bringing him back? Are you talking about basically RG3 in them? Absolutely, wins are wins. But there is a there is that, if your objective is to get into the playoffs, which ours has been stated for years, even though I don't really think we ever really had the teams that maybe can get in, but can you make the run? So even though you're getting wins, is it sustainable? Now, in the case of what we're going through right now, because of everything that's up ahead for us this offseason heading into 2025, you want wins because you want to get rid of the loser mentality or whatever in there. So you know, if they pull a high school team on the schedule at some point this season and you roll in and we have to play them in the dome, beat the hell out of them. I mean, that's part of it. But at the same time, you're looking and going, we need to really know who we have on this roster can play, especially the ones whose contracts are small, because don't have a lot of money on them. Those are the ones we're going to have to rely on probably at least through 2025, hopefully not longer than that, to fix all the upcoming issues we have to fix. Because I would like to be competitive and on the upswing in 2025. Sitting at this point in 2025, right around 500, kind of where we are always sitting, 1 or 2 games, it seemed like last few years. But instead of trending this way, you're trending that way. You're going up instead of down. So I don't mean to be too critical, but I think it's you have to be honest of what you're seeing. More importantly, the team has to be honest at what they're seeing, and not going back to fooling themselves to we're just one player away. You need a little more than that. And it's going to help figure out who those players you need to bring in if you can evaluate who you're going to keep. and who you can't keep. Just saying, you could be rolling in some extra dough right now. Yeah, I caught his highlights, and I think Sean. I've said this before, and we were talking about it today in the bunker pregame. Um, Never really thought Sean would adjust kind of what he wants to do on offense. Thought he was always kind of looking for the quarterback that could mostly do what he wanted to do. And, like he did for Drew, he did tailor it down and made it really good. But in this is he's and look, I don't think Denver has enough. I think they could add some playmakers who would be even better. But they use him Bo Nix's strength, which is moving the ball around, his athletic ability, um, his running ability, especially in that, but also the fact that he can move around the pocket by a little time. Now I didn't see what they did today, so he may be opening the offense more up. But one of the things about struggling to open up the offense with him, and it happened in the game when they played against us, is he brought with him from college is the further the ball he has to throw down the field, the little more the inaccuracy gets in there. But if you can kind of work that out, where all of a sudden he's hitting those passes because he does the West Coast short game stuff really, really well. I mean, if you look back what he had in Oregon last year with like Franklin and Bucky Irving, Franklin's with him in Denver, I believe, but Bucky Irving is playing well into where they said, look, man, well, you don't have to be Jane Daniels or Michael Penix with throws downfield. Look at these guys. Just got to get them the ball in open space, something we talk about a lot in the NFL. So if you got to do it at the line, if you got to do it 2 yards beyond the line or 2 yards behind, we don't care. And I think that's kind of how they started him off. And I'm pretty sure they're going to start working to, because in this NFL, you can't do that forever, but start working him towards, no, going to have to start getting the ball downfield, but we'll get you there. Which I hope that's what they're doing, because that's going to be the best chance for him. And Sean's not an idiot. Yeah, and that was just an utter beatdown. And man, you got to think after what happened last week that Atlanta was either going to come out, but they did play in Denver, right? It's a tough place to go play, but still, you kind of figure Atlanta would be coming out going, oh, shit, after what happened last week. And that was they got handled the way it looked and sounded. And the other thing is too, I've like I said, I didn't watch the game, but I think part of it too is the Kirk Cousins factor throughout his career. He's one of those guys that, man, he can just have some outstanding games, and he can have some games when he struggles. Denver has a really good defense. We found that out. But yeah, Vance Joseph has those guys playing really, really well. So, I mean, I could see if you run into a game where Cousins struggled or they weren't able to run the ball, that Vance Joseph was able to take Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier out the game completely. Where, okay, Cousins has to throw his, Cousins almost has to do what Winston had to do today with their lack of running game. Where they have to zing it down there and get somewhere around 400 yards for us to have a chance to win. He knew it, but, it's not like asking Jared Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson to give you that much offense to win a game. Yeah, he was downfield and he was also getting blocked, but he was downfield covering somebody else. The guy he was covering was the guy that was getting in his way blocking him. So in no way, shape, or form was that Kool-Aid's fault at all. I said the same thing, Milton, the game. Now, they showed one clip, and the one they showed, it was like, I don't know, but I like watching it live. I thought there was legitimate contact, and yeah, like he didn't have a chance to get to the ball because they bumped. But on the replay they showed it. That's what seemed like it happened too. But yeah, I unfortunately I don't get the when you are at the game when they show you replays. Very rarely do you get multiple angles, and we'll get to watch it multiple times. So I'm I don't know this for sure, but if you're watching the broadcast at home and you were able to look, it's like it seems like it would show up that should have been PI. But I would have preferred, especially the way we were running the ball, even at that point, and we had a really good passing game going with Carr. I'd have just preferred not to even go down that route and call that play and never get ourselves in that position. Yeah, I think a lot of divisions are still wide open right now. I look, I agree with and this is probably something to talk about too when you're talking about being too critical. I don't think there's a lot of really good teams around the NFL right now at large. I think there's a lot of bad football being played on a consistent basis, um, week in, week out sometimes, and not necessarily all by the same team. Like you're not seeing a whole lot of pretty football games unless you have a team playing well that runs into, like a Detroit running into Jacksonville today and just abusing them up and down the field for 4 quarters. But I think the overall play of the game is yes, and I know I sound like the old man that talked about yes, we walked uphill to school both ways in the snow, all that stuff when I was a youngster, but I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's just the quality of play isn't always consistent and good. And the teams that are doing it kind of start to stand out about this point in the season. So we'll see over the next 2 weeks. I don't know how much. Um, I know Austin. I'm trying to. Well, wait, hang on. I can tell you right now because Austin caught one from Hill. Did he have more than one catch? No, that was his only catch. He had 2 targets, one for 18, and the 18-yarder was Taysom Hill's 18-yard completion. But I don't know what the snap counts are. I can't tell you who's on the field for a lot out of any of that. No, we were running a lot of multiple tight end looks, but I don't know what was shaking out on the receivers. And hell, half of them are so new. Like the only one whose number I can remember going into the game was MVS was number 10. There's at times I had to like who's that on the field, Austin. So overall, I don't know, but look, you went 21 and 27 for plus 200 and 2 touchdowns. I'm not really concerned how you distributed that out, especially in a win. Can't answer that one way or the other, Northern. I have no idea. Yeah, I mean there were times where there was zero pressure, nothing. You know, I think most NFL quarterbacks, no matter what level they actually are, on some of those drives where they'd have been, oh man, this is fun. I don't have anything to worry about other than actually finding somebody who's hoping to get the ball to him. But and then especially late in the game, but there were other mixed in there where all of a sudden we were at least making him uncomfortable or making him, to his credit, getting it out early and not taking a sack. But more importantly, what he was known for when you could get to him is throwing the ball to the other team. So he really didn't do that today. Wouldn't argue that he stinks, but I can tell you he didn't stink today. Yeah, well, Pettis is going to play. No, actually, Jermaine Jackson was that guy, but they cut him to elevate Pettis because Pettis can, unlike Jermaine Jackson, Pettis can roll out and go 1 for 9 and pick up a first down for you as lined up as a receiver. So he gives you more than Jermaine Jackson gave you. Top of that, I tell you what, Jermaine Jackson made me freaking nervous every time he was back there to catch a punt. I don't know why, but it was like it just never comfortable with him back there. But Pettis has been in the league for how long? Actually, I meant to look this up earlier because we were discussing it. 6 years, I think. Yeah, he's 29, 6 years. Dude's been around. The highlight I saw, they did more than push him because I saw at one point both his feet were off the ground. They were literally carrying him for a stretch. I've heard it louder. But it did get loud at some spots. But like I said, it was just a weird, like the play on the fourth down that I mentioned a couple times in the end zone where they didn't score. We're getting the ball back. We're going, huh? It was dead silence for a second. I mean, for just a few seconds, it was like you could have heard a pin drop. And I really think it's because everybody was looking for the flag that luckily wasn't there and going, okay, we can celebrate now. I've never seen that before in the dome, but it was just, but no, there were some moments where it did get real loud. It was almost like it had been so long since we had a game like this, since week one, really at home. It was almost like at times we didn't know how to react. Like I don't, I can't explain it. I really can't. But um, I'm trying to think of some of the plays where you got to allow. Well, Taysom's 2 runs, the crowd was loud as hell. That was one. But stuff like that, yeah, and all of a sudden it'd perk up and it'd get real loud. Because he's not really a quarterback. I mean, I don't think he was exactly looking around to make reads and see where the coverage. And I don't think that was just predetermined. Zing it down there deep as far as you can throw and hope MVS can get under it. But yeah. Again, just take that play out the playbook. Don't even go there. Well, Rappaport said this morning on Twitter, I think it was Rappaport or the other guy, one of the other guys. The reports were Peterson was getting fired this week anyway. So I'm pretty sure today's probably all but confirmed that. In fact, I hadn't heard anything, but he may have been fired on the airport and had to hitch a ride home. I don't know. But yeah, I definitely know. The way he collapsed at the end of last year, after the start they had, yeah, that's a no-brainer that was going to happen. What's happening, Trey? We'll see. And that's something like I'm getting to talk to a little bit in the off week. Um, I think there's some stuff you can start doing now, um, in preparation for what's going on in 2025. But and not to go too far in it because it's really going to have to be its own. We'll probably on Thursday talk about it some, and then kind of depending what's going on with the Saints, talk about it again next Sunday night. But um, I don't want to. I don't want to see them doing anything stupid roster wise. First off, um, and I also want to see what they're doing. Look, if we go on the magic run and win all the games, I still think some of the stuff that you would be doing in prep for 2025 would still help you when you get in the playoffs. So I think we had some real roster issues that are kind of fixing themselves somewhat. Relying so much, I'm gonna say this: relying so much on Bub Means and Mason Tipton, while they both do stuff I like, but when you had more experienced guys available that you could bring in to help your offense, would be like the case I'm thinking of. So at this point, the rest of the season, you're looking at it. Well, who do you want to bring back? Which one of the rookies you think is going to develop and take that next step? I think those are some of the conversations you have going on right now to prepare you for what you're going to have to do in 2025, which is going to be some work clearing up some issues there. I think Mickey's on board. I think he's fine. If he's not, I'm going to have issues with him. we'll see. Yeah, that was his other target. He only had 2. Caught one from Taysom in that one. Or a lateral move. I think that would be the only play to get him out. Is it would be, but you know, I nobody knows what they're thinking from the ownership level. Miss Gale and Lao Chin, whoever else is kind of there. So I think if we could get some information coming out of them, you might be able to figure some of that out. But I don't know. Yeah, that ain't well. That's definitely not happening. I I think definitely some changes need to be made there regardless. That's you can't keep doing what you're doing and keep missing in so many spots on your roster that you've been missing. There has to be some shake up there. And can't keep saying enough. The game is evolving fast right now in the NFL, very fast. You got to be able to keep up, and you're gonna need some of these organizations around that are building whole new analytical departments and some of the scouting and all. So being innovative in that too, I guess is the way I should say it. Not only what's going on the field, but in the front office, and it's survival of the fittest in the NFL. So you better figure it out and keep doing that. So I think there needs to be some changes there somewhere, if not the whole thing, But that's all stuff they need to be thinking about now. Hopefully, somebody is. Well, some of those I did see on some of the plays where it was a little. It wasn't the Pete Car. That was Pete Carmichael, definitely what he was trying to do, whatever he was trying to do. But I did see some of the schemes and all on that where I think it was a touchdown around the left. It was doubles and pushing to the offensive right, and you had Ruiz draw around and have the kick out. Like we hadn't seen that before. So you can still get creative in the blocking scheme, even though it looks like Taysom right, Taysom left. Yeah, there are some defenses where, yeah, you're gonna have to be even more creative than that. But instead of being creative with Taysom, that's probably where you're gonna have to be creative somewhere else in your offense. If you're facing an elite level defense, an elite level defense is always elite, and that's when it gets real difficult. But I don't think we have any elite level defenses left on our schedule, so we'll see how it turns out. But I thought Kubiak was much better today, play calling with um, some of his setups, some of his. I think he got them thinking and playing a lot of base on defense with some of the stuff before. I mean, Jesus Christ, Derek Carr going in orbit motion, back there. We were all like, oh, it's going to be. Remember the play that Winston threw in what was it, the 2020-2021 playoff game, where they basically did the same thing. They pitched him a ball and he threw the long pass. I think it was the only touchdown pass we had in that game. I think that was 21. That's what I thought they were calling on that play, really, as soon as he did that. But turned out that was just a decoy. So I doubt if you could sit there and add that to as your base playbook and use it every week, it would help you. But sometimes little stuff like that just kind of puts their defense back on their heels just a little bit. You can find some plays coming out of that. I don't know if it's come and went, but for right now, yeah, he definitely should be inactive. He's not doing enough on the field to help you win. No, no. It's like I'm just not the betting type that starts doing crazy stuff. Nah, I'll bet money if I have it in very low amounts, but that's when getting bets. That's about it, and I do mean very low amounts. Lateral damage. What is lateral damage? You're gonna have to collateral damage, but as to what? I'm not really sure what you're asking there. Uh, I doubt if he's still alive for one thing, but I prefer we go get actual football people. Yeah, feed him the ball, but you got to get him his touches. Brizzy listens to the podcast because post game in his interview, part of what I caught, he was talking about the fact that you just need him on the field because of the fact that you don't know where he's going to line up and how he's going to be used. You know, when he's on the field, he's not tipping as a 12, as a 21, as an 11, whatever personnel, because he can do so many things. So even if you're not getting him the ball, because he had only 15 touches today, less touches than Alvin, but they were very productive. But he put so much stress on the defense that they're going to play some base, especially teams that like to move a lot of personnel in and out in this, not only along the defensive line, but kind of situational linebackers, a lot like Willie Gay was doing in Kansas City last year. That Spagnuolo does, and well, it makes it a little harder to do that because when he's trotting out on the field, as opposed to an actual tight end or an actual running back or an actual wide receiver, defense is counting. Oh, they know for sure. Well, that's 11 personnel. That's 12. That's whatever. And doing appropriate. So Taysom, you're like, man, you just don't know. And then you really mess with people's minds when he motions from one spot to another. And I think that's why Rizzy was saying a lot of teams just want to stay in a base defense because they're not really sure until the snap of the ball where he's going to be and how he's going to be being used. I think that's where the most value comes in. But you have games like this where you hand him 15 touches and he's, and letting him return kicks and he's racking up over 200 total yards on the day with 3 touchdowns. Ride that wave as long as you got it going. Lateral damage, Mickey? Well, could be. But I don't want to. I just don't want to get caught doing the same old, same old. But I mean, there has to be some changes in the way they do stuff a little differently. Oh yeah, thank you. In fact, yeah, I'm about ready to call it a night because yes, I'm getting my adrenaline dump now fully, and just I think we only got a couple left. So yeah, and healthier. I wasn't really sure how even if you got it back, if you got it back to or with an oblique. I mean, Jesus, he's got to use that muscle every single time he tries to throw the ball. Um, so it seems like they did wait and hold him in healthy back, but when I know opinions differ on Carr, but I just feel like he is in that. I don't really know who's starting quarterbacks everywhere around the league right now for the moment because I know you got some injuries and some other stuff going on. But I think in any given week, he's a bottom half of the top 10, anywhere from 6, 7, 8, 9 to somewhere in the early teens, 12, 13, as an overall in the league. Um, I think he will give you some amazingly awesome games every now and then, and he's going to give you some clunkers. I think that's most quarterbacks not named the top tier guys, and Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, probably the big three right now. Stafford probably is right up against there. A few of those guys. Some of the rookies at times definitely play up there. Especially Daniels, and it looks like Nick's is starting to figure stuff out. So it's like a fluid situation, but I really feel like if we sat down without too much trouble, we could probably name 10 quarterbacks we're glad is not starting for us and that Derek Carr is. So I think he stabilized things a lot like a veteran quarterback in his situation should. And if we can avoid, well, like lack of a better phrase, doing stupid shit out there at the quarterback position and just doing what he did today. It's like he's not going to hurt you at least. He should help you win games. And you got the team responding right now, I think, to Rizzy, which is going to help him out also. Yeah, I'll tell you this much. I can tell you where we're going to need help and what might be available. Definitely defensive line. But this is really the question. When you start talking about having to shave 63 million estimated right now, we'll see if that's the actual number. It could go down, could go up, but off your payroll with probably anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe 6 are your top paid players right now who's a dead weight need to take pay cuts to be able to keep them. And you got to figure all that out before the league opens because that's when you got to be under the cap. That's going to determine a whole lot right there. So it's tough, especially if you don't even know where you drafted, and especially if you wind up in a pick in the situation we're going to be in, where somebody might want to trade up, where you pick up, especially if you would pick up an extra first rounder in the following year and have 2 or extra picks in this draft if it's deep enough to kind of fill some of those spots with second picks. So above all, the way things turn out, I don't even know if you're going to use that draft pick. But whatever you do, you need to get capital out of it, whether it's somebody you are going to pick and put on your team that's going to help the roster out, or it's future capital, whatever you're going to do because of your money situation and everything else. It's a big old giant rat's nest mess right now, which is again why I'm really hoping they're figuring, and I kind of feel like they are figuring out some of this stuff right now. So when you get to that point, you go, okay, we've cleared the money, so we're not worried about, especially if you clear the money enough to know, well, we may not be active in free agency in 2025, but it'll be back to normal 2026. May set you up a little bit on that pick going best interior defensive lineman if we're picking in the teens or later, or if we're early, is there a quarterback worth taking? Because there seems to be some doubt about that coming out of the college ranks right now. Do you want to add another explosive receiver? Because what are you going to do with Shaheed? And what are you going to do with Olave? Some question marks there. Both really kind of concerning their health. So I just this point really don't know. No, that's the Gleason visor. Been having that for a while. Oh, Stafford. Yeah, I saw her in a commercial or something they did. So yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. Well, out of that group, I'm definitely taking Bruce Smith. Jeez, no brainer there. Yep, do that right now. So, this will be pretty much it for tonight. I don't know if y'all can see the pin on the because I have a pin at the top of the comments on the promotion, but let me get up there where I can find it. It's merch shops at Black and Gold Network, myshopify.com. And as of 20 minutes ago, that Saints 35, Brown 14, 10% discount code is valid and will end 10 p.m. my time, 11 p.m. your time, Northern, because I think you told me you're on the East Coast on Tuesday night. So it's good for 48 hours. So check the merch out in there, some shirts, a mug, a few things here and there. Anything you like and you want to help out the channel a little bit, we'll appreciate it. And I will, as soon as we close this down, I'll go ahead pin this in the comments also um, on the video itself. And that box should show up at checkout time if you choose to. Yeah, I like that shirt or whatever, and you want to get one. So make sure it's there before you check all the way out. The other thing is give you guys some homework, and actually you can put it. Uh, I'll let Northern start this off. The Northern you can sort of thread off, but out of the current roster as it looks right now, who is the most important player we have to bring back for 2025? Just give me one. And if you want to give a reason, that's fine. If you don't, I just really need a name because, as I said, I do want to kind of talk about the way the roster is constructed, kind of that salary cap handicap. So if I got kind of like a consensus, let's say, of who's the most important guy we got to bring back, trying to go through that and look at it. Let me see. Well, okay, if that's, if it's Olave or whoever, how is he going to figure into all this? So it's kind of a practical experiment type thing that I'm gonna try. So if you wouldn't mind, just leave me a name. One's good. Don't really need, you know, 15 of them or anything. Just one where everybody's kind of, yeah. I think we really need to think about making sure he's on the roster in 2025 because, quite frankly, again, to make this thing work under the constraints we're under, there's very few people who are uncuttable based on their contract. And some guys you would think we might really want to keep or extend or something may just have to go based on the money on their contract. So you wouldn't mind doing that for me. I would appreciate it, and I will check it and see if I can't put something together. I really want to kind of have this conversation with y'all Thursday for the live show, which will be the same time, Thursday afternoon, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Northern time. So we'll definitely be seeing you guys there. Anything pops up, I may be throwing another video in. So make sure you got your notification hit. If you're new here, and everybody who's here, please give me a thumbs up. But definitely, if you're new here, like, share, subscribe, kind of get the word out. We will be live, like I said, Thursday at 2 p.m. We'll definitely be live next Sunday night. And I'll probably sneak a video or two in there in between. So till I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.